Newport-Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions, is brought to you by Newport-Fersan Jamaica Limited, the first on the land.
All right, so it's now time for Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions. And this morning we're taking a look at issues associated with acidic, alkaline and saline soils. Now, soil is really very important. There's a lot of work that is taking place out on the east-west highway now, where you see they're digging a lot of trenches to put in pipes. And it really has been an eye-opener, because what has been happening is that they're removing the topsoil and they're going very deep. And then you say to yourself, but this is painting a picture of how it is that we can actually destroy the soil that is needed to create the food that we eat. And it's really very important for farmers to understand not only the importance of the types of soil that they have, but how it is that they use it. And so this morning, as we turn the spotlight on these issues associated with acidity, alkalinity, and salinity in soil, we're joined by Nigel Panton, agronomist for Zone 2 with Newport-Fersan, Jamaica. Good morning, Nigel. How are you?
Good morning, Alti. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. Good to have you on with us. And we also have joining us Don McGlashan, Operations Manager, Imagination Farms. Mr. McGlashan, where you been hiding?
Good morning, Alti. Always good to be with you. And good morning to your audience and also to Nigel. And I'm not hiding. I'm with you this morning.
All right. Good. Good to have you. It's been such a long time since I last spoke with you. Good to have you on with us. Nigel, clearly, understanding how soil works is very important. And I'm very glad you're going down this road this morning in terms of helping us to better understand issues having to do with acidity, alkalinity, and salinity in soil. Now, you do a lot of soil testing at Newport-Fersan Jamaica Limited. Why is that soil testing important?
Very good. So the soil testing is one of the pillars or the foundation of our operation at Newport-Fersan. Mm-hmm. So at Newport-Fersan, we are advocates of precise nutrient management system. And the soil testing is one of the foundation that principle is crafted on. Okay. So first we come with our soil testing, which gives you a representation of the nutritional content, other aspects of the soil as well, such as the pH, the organic matter, the cation exchange. So all of that comes to light when you do the soil testing. And based off those results, we furnish the farmer with a precise nutrient management system. Excellent. So the soil testing is very, very dear to our heart because it's one of our pillars of our precise nutrient management system, which is the new principle that we are advocating that all our farmers should be a part of.
Don McGlashan, do our farmers know enough about the soil that they are working with, or do we find that a lot of the challenges they face is precisely because they don't understand enough about the soil?
If we were to sample about 100 farmers and ask them if they did a soil test, they probably ask you what that is, how important is that. So I would say that we are very slow in uptake with regarding the necessity for soil testing in our crops. And this has led to significant loss in crop productivity. It continues also to cause our soils to become toxic in certain chemicals, and environmental degradation continues. So yes, and I'm glad that Newport-Fersan and others have taken on this approach in terms of being knowledge-based and being science-driven. As you said, the soil is the foundation, as Nigel has been saying. Yes. And I remember my good friend O.B. Johnson always saying that the root of a plant is the brain of a plant. So if your brain is in a soil condition, which is not conducive, then there's no way you're going to get any good crop production and crop productivity. Critical to what we're doing. And if we don't do this right, I will suggest that our agriculture is not going to improve, either in the short term or the medium term.
Well, that is why we're having the conversation this morning, so we can better break down some of these issues and help our farmers to understand. Nigel, I spoke about acidity, alkalinity, and salinity in terms of soil. Can you tell us what each is? If it's acidic, if it's alkaline, or if it's saline, what's going on?
Very good. So the acidity or the alkalinity of the soil is a measure of the pH. Some persons call it the potential hydrogen. So it's a range from 0 to 14, 17 being the midway, 7 being the midway rather. Anything below 7 is acidic, anything above 7 is alkaline. The ideal pH for nutrient uptake by a plant is slightly acidic. So you want your soils to be in a slightly acidic range, and the literature says that range is between 5.5 to 6.5. Any deviation from that range requires amelioration, and that is what we'll be looking at this morning.
Excellent.
On the other side, there are soils that are located close to the coastline, or in some cases, farmers use saline water to irrigate their production area. When you have a buildup of chloride, sodium chloride, the soil becomes saline. In other words, there's a buildup of soluble salts. Once you have that, there is an increase in the cation exchange, and you realize that the plants are not able to extract the nutrients, water, and minerals from the soil.
Which makes no sense.
A spin-off from that is that the growth is reduced, the biological and physical process of the plant is being reduced, and ultimately the yield is being affected.
All right, tell us what amelioration is, and then I'm going to go to Mr. McGlashan to expand that issue in terms of the acidic soils, alkaline soils, and saline soils some more, because clearly, if we're having amelioration for all of them, it would be different. But what exactly is soil amelioration? Okay,
so soil amelioration is really applying any product, whether inorganic or organic, that enhances the quality of the soil. So therefore, you increases the plant health, the growth and development. And what you have is that you allow the plant to be more efficient in extracting water, nutrients, and minerals from the soil. So a lot of times, a soil may say be nutritionally sound. So in terms of the nutrient content of the soil, they are in adequate amount. But when you look on other aspects of the soil that contributes to soil health, such as the pH or the salinity of the soil, that is where the soil fall off. In cases like that, what we advocate for is the amelioration of the soil, unlock the nutrients that is there. Because you very might have a case where you have a soil that is high in potassium or high in phosphorus, but because of the other aspects of the soil, such as the acidity, the alkalinity, or the salinity of the soil, you establish the crop and you see the soil, the plant showing phosphorus deficiency or potassium deficiency. That doesn't mean that the nutrient is not in adequate amount, but it's just because of the condition of the soil, the plant is not able to extract the nutrient. So that is how important soil amelioration is.
All right. So Don McGlashan, then, can you just expand some of the issues, the common soil states that we're seeing in terms of this acidic alkalinity and salinity and what it has been doing to crops?
All right. So let us understand how acidic soils are formed. If you have high rainfall areas, you tend to have leaching. You can have leaching of your soils and leach out all those elements which Nigel mentioned already, your calcium, your magnesium. All those can be leached from the soil to the extent that your soil becomes less than 4.5 in pH. You can also, depending also what your parent material for the soil is. If it is on granite or if it is on limestone, like what we have in Jamaica, then for limestone you don't tend to have that much acidic soils in terms of our conditions in Jamaica. Also, with respect to alkaline soils, what you tend to have happening here is an accumulation of sodium ions, calcium and magnesium and potassium. So these become retained in the soil to very high levels, which cause them to become problematic and at the expense of other nutrients cannot become available to the plant. With respect to saline soils now, with respect to alkaline soils, I should have mentioned that these soils are actually formed in dry conditions, dry climates, where you have very excessive evaporation taking off and low rainfall areas. So you have a lot of the soils concentrated near to the surface. Mm-hmm. That then has a build-up right where the root zones are. In other situations for alkaline soils, you can have a shallow soil with a high water table and the water accumulates all the ions right in the surface, in the root surface area again. So that's where the alkalinity lies. In saline soils now, that's what I was mixing up a while ago. Now you have an accumulation of these high elements, such as I said before, sodium, calcium, and magnesium, and these become toxic to crop growth. There's also another term which you call sodicity, which actually where your sodium ions aggregate onto the soil particles, destroying the soil structure. And what happens here, you may see some soils, you go to some clay soils, for example, out here an audience, where you see a lot of crusting going on, especially in the clay soils. Yes. That is a result of some of these ions accumulating to an extent, causing this kind of disintegration of your soil structure. So those are the three states I mentioned before: acidic, alkaline, saline, and I mentioned another term, sodicity. Very important, and we tend to ignore these at our own peril.
Oh, boy, I tell you, I'm learning so much this morning. By the way, Nigel, you mentioned the term cation, I think a couple of times, and I don't take it for granted that everybody knows what you're talking about. I think from our basic chemistry, we would have learned about ions when we were younger. But when you talk about cation, what are you talking about? Nigel? I'm not hearing him at all. Let us try to see what is going on. Don, can you help us?
Well, cations, simply, these are the elements in the soil: the calcium, the magnesium. They usually carry a charge. For example, it's the sodium ion. It has a positive to it, and they have the chlorine ion. So for example, you have sodium chloride. So you have a Na plus, you have a Cl minus. So these are just the salts in the soil solution. And so them carry different charges depending on what they are.
All right, thank you so very much. Because of course we're in school, when you come to this show, so we try to learn as much as possible and try to educate our farmers about some of these terms.
And I just clear to that, so the cations are the positively charged one, the anions are the negatively charged ones.
There we go, because that question was coming, right?
Yes, I know.
All right, so gentlemen, we're going to take the break, and then when we come back, we're picking up on these issues, very important issues we're talking about this morning. Issues associated with acidity, alkalinity, and salinity in soil. And we have already learned when we talk about soil amelioration what we mean. But how does the farmer know if the soil needs amelioration? We'll take a look at that when we come back.
You're listening to Power106FM. The time is now
6:30.
Miss Betty, early blight take over my tomato. And me paper full of powdery mildew. What me I go do?
Clear way.
Oh, you are tell me fi clear way. When you think me and your friend?
No, Mas Kelso. May I tell you for use Clearway from Newport-Fersan, Jamaica. It is a contact and systemic fungicide with protective and curative actions against a wide range of fungal diseases such as anthracnose and early blight in tomato, purple blotch in onion, late blight in potato, leaf spot in peanut, powdery mildew in pepper, and much more.
Thanks, Miss Betty. You're really my friend. Me come Newport-Fersan rep right now. Can't forget that name there. Clearway.
Clearway. Farmers, get your supply today. Another premium product from Newport-Fersan, Jamaica Limited.
We're inside the feature Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions. This morning, we're taking a look at issues associated with acidic, alkaline, and saline soils. We have with us Nigel Panton, agronomist for Zone 2, and our special guest, Don McGlashan, who is Operations Manager, Imagination Farms. And the gentlemen have been helping us to better understand what some of these issues are that are associated with these acidic, alkaline, and saline soils. And Nigel had explained to us what soil amelioration is. But Nigel, how does a farmer know if their soil needs amelioration?
One of the main... Hello?
Go ahead, I'm hearing you now.
Yes. So one of the main matrix that bring forward if a soil needs amelioration is by soil testing. And that is something that we facilitate at Newport-Fersan. So our soil test has a column on it that gives a reading for soluble salts, pH, and also the organic matter. So if a farmer does a soil test and you realize that the pH is out of the slightly acidic range, that is 5.5 to 6.5, then we prescribe what we call a ameliorant. Whether it be our sulfursan, whether it be our calcifersan, or whether it can be a combo where we mix the ameliorant with fertilizer. So the soil testing is one of the prime matrix that bring forward if a soil needs amelioration. There can also be some physical observation where you can see if there is a high evaporation taking place, you can realize that some salt crust can be on the surface of the soil. Because once the moisture leaves the particles, you can realize that there's salt crust, and that can be an indication that your soil might be saline, which requires amelioration. So those are the main matrix that determine if your soil really needs ameliorant is by doing a soil test, getting scientific evidence.
Excellent. And I just want to remind the farmers that when we talk about an ameliorant, it is a substance that helps the plant to grow primarily by improving the physical condition of the soil. And of course, Nigel and Panton and Don McGlashan with us this morning, walking us through some of these issues. Don McGlashan raising the concern that there are many farmers out there that if you went into the field and you asked them about the soil testing, they likely would not even have been paying it any attention at all. And so we're very happy when we're able to have these kinds of conversations. All right, so Nigel, just remind us what are the issues associated with that lack of proper amelioration.
Very good. So the three main things that is associated with lack of amelioration is really nutrient deficiency, abnormal growth and development, and reduced crop yield. So if you remember earlier in the program, I mentioned that a lot of times the soils are nutritionally fertile, but because of the chemical condition of the soil, whether it be pH or the salinity of the soil, the nutrients become unavailable, meaning that it is there, but it's not bioavailable to the plant.
The plant has no way of getting to it.
Exactly. So the nutrients is there, but up top on the shoot system, the plant is showing the deficiency. Once you have a nutrient deficiency, you realize that you have stunted growth, and the development is also affected. The plant is not able to grow as it should, put on its canopy, is not able to flower, or if it's a case where the plant fruits, the plant is not able to carry out the fruit set processes as it should. And ultimately, once you have those happening, you realize that the yield of the crop is being reduced. So those are the three main spin-off when you have lack of amelioration or improper amelioration taking place.
All right, let us bring Don McGlashan back in. How do you address, Don McGlashan, the issue of alkalinity and salinity in soils?
All right, we talked about really solutions. So I joined Imagination Farms about 5.5 years ago. When I arrived, we were having challenges with our pepper seedlings. And I had all the best experts in the world helping me try to figure out what was causing the plants to grow so slowly. We were having seedlings in there for 10, 11 weeks, and they were very stunted, chlorotic, and all that. Try everything. And you know what was wrong, Althea? The irrigation water we were using was saline. So we have a saline soil, and we're actually contributing more salinity to the thing, and the plants could not grow. That change alone made a significant difference, where we could now produce seedlings within 5 to 6 weeks, and our crop production in the field was of course turned up as well.
Okay.
When it came to that. I want to say something to you as well.
Sure.
And I know about 25 years ago, there was a lot of work being done on the plains of St. Catherine in terms of studies. And there was a salt water intrusion, so water coming into our wells. So if you pump from a well and continue to pump from it over and above what is supposed to be pumped, especially during the dry season, then what you're actually doing now is bringing in that salt water. You're bringing in those ions, that we spoke about a while ago, which is going to come on your soil and is going to affect your production. So you also have to look at your soil and your water source. This is critical in what you're doing when you're doing this situation. Another thing we mentioned as well, I'll tell you, the whole use of organic matter. And whether it be cow, chicken, whatever it is, this is very important in how you ameliorate your soil. When you have organic matter in a clay soil, for example, it causes this individual soil particles to aggregate, and you find now when you add organic matter over time, this is long-term, medium to long-term, you have these clay soils, which are very heavy, becoming more porous. You have better drainage. In the sandy soils, the aggregation allows your sandy soil to have better water holding capacity. And when the organic matter decays, then you're releasing these kind of elements and nutrients to your soil. And also, the the biological function activities related to bacteria, fungi, and other soil organisms really cause the release of certain acidic substances which can affect soil pH and hence availability of nutrients to your crop. So I just mentioned two. We mentioned the use of proper irrigation water and the use of organic matter. The whole matter of soil improving crops as well can also aid in that. So there are a number of avenues you can use. What Fersan has introduced is the different soil ameliorants to help. These can provide immediate quick relief. And we have also included that along with long-term in terms of water use and in terms of organic matter.
Excellent. And what I'm getting from you is that it is important, do the soil testing because that is critical, but clearly you also need to do the testing of the water as well.
Yes.
Right.
And let us just get the soil testing right. I mean, if you just do it and just do it as a matter of because people said to do it. But you have to do it, you have to interpret it, understand it, and use it. All right? And it's not expensive. Yeah, no matter if it is at Newport-Fersan or anywhere, it's not expensive. And then that information lasts for 2 years and you build on that. Okay. And if we do that, then our agriculture and our crop production can improve.
Well, you've touched on something else that is also very important because sometimes when people do soil testing, they don't go back and do another test. And so that is critical. But let me bring Nigel back in to just talk to us about some of those steps or the steps being taken by Newport-Fersan to address the issue of farmers not practicing soil amelioration in crop production. Nigel?
Very good. So one of our primary steps that we take to really bring the importance of soil amelioration to farmers is really by furnishing them with our precise nutrient management system. And as I mentioned earlier, the pillar of that system is really soil testing. And a lot of times, farmers really see the soil testing as an expense. But in essence, a soil test is really an investment. You're going in a business and you're making an investment. So that is how serious we want our farmers to look at the soil test. So the soil test brings forward the pH and the salinity. And based off the soil test, we give you a nutrient program. In the nutrient program now, we move on to our product offerings. So if you have a case where you have an acidic soil or an alkaline soil, based on our product offerings, we offer you an ameliorant to fix that. The two ameliorants are the Sulfursan, which is a concentration of sulfur, it's 90% sulfur, and we use that on alkaline soil. Any soil is above 6.5. What if your soil is on the flip side? For example, our farmer up in the ginger hill areas and those places where this the pH is normally low, we recommend what we call a calcifersan, a concentration of calcium carbonate. All right? For the booster, we recommend the booster in saline soil. So the booster has a chemical composition that mimics gypsum, calcium. Okay. And what that does is that the calcium displaces the sodium. And once that happens, you realize that the soluble salts are able to dissolve and leach out of the soil, making the nutrients more accessible to the root system of the plant. There are also cases where, based on the level of amelioration needed, what if it's a case where a farmer does a soil test and we realize that the pH is 6.7 or 7? We are equipped that we can make the ameliorant and the fertilizer incorporated in one application. So we have, for example, a case where a farmer might be low in phosphorus. Mm-hmm. We can furnish them with a blend of 14-21-14 plus calcifersan or 14-21-14 plus sulfursan. So right off the bat, you are coming in with your heavy phosphorus and you are also putting on a little amelioration. So we can give you the amelioration as a standalone product, and we have the equipment to blend it, incorporate it in a fertilizer blend. And of course, you know, at Newport-Fersan, we never stop training. So we also employ to farmers based on our informal and formal training. So the precise nutrient management, the product offerings, and as I said, we are a company that we never stop training farmers. So we also convey that based on formal and informal trainings.
All right, excellent. Don McGlashan, any final comments, any other tips?
Two final comments.
Sure.
I just want to say that this matter of salinity and soil issues, there's about 1 million hectares of land in the world, which is considered saline. It's about 33% of the potential land for agriculture in the world. So that's about 2002 figure I'm looking at. So I don't know what it is now, but it shows the seriousness that we have to take this into consideration. Secondly, even if we don't do soil amelioration, the soil tests which are being done by Fersan and others, farmers must use them to apply fertilizers correctly.
Right.
For example, if you have a pH soil of 5 and adding sulfate of ammonia, then you're going to make the soil more acidic and you're going to cause problems. So we have to know what we are doing. And at the risk of repeating myself, and Nigel has said it, we need Altio that every farmer must do a soil test. And I want to encourage you to come into you that when a farmer is talking to you from now on, ask them to do a soil test now and do a record of that and get them to so do. Certainly
will. Nigel, how can people reach out to you?
All right, so you can send me an email at n.panton at n.panton at Newport-Fersan.com, or you can call my phone line 876-371-1990.
All right, and of course they can also reach out to the team there at Newport-Fersan, Jamaica. I see Theo Kingston saying that as a tanner, he uses strips of paper which change color to show pH, and he is saying perhaps these can be made available to farmers as well. All right, thank you so very much for this morning. Very, very good and vital information you have shared with us. Thanks, gentlemen.
Bye, Alcia. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Nigel Panton and Don McGlashan bringing to a close Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions.
Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions was brought to you by Newport-Fersan Jamaica Limited, the first on the land.